And welcome back to Tabletop for One's podcast. I'm your host, Daniel, and we're here to talk about crowdfunding games, new games that have arrived on my doorstep, games I've played, and upcoming pre-orders or crowdfunding games I'm looking forward to. Now, I know there have been a lot of requests for me to get this podcast off of YouTube. Well, not off of YouTube, but other places, other broadcasting areas and websites. And I've been trying to. I've been having trouble. I can't get my Spotify account back. I can't get my Apple account back. I don't know what's going on with those. I'm having trouble uploading to Google Podcasts. There's just a lot going on right now that's giving me trouble. Now, I do have plans on making my own website for my channel, and so what I think I will end up having to do is put all my podcasts up there for download, so you'll be able to download those easily. But in the meantime, I will try and get these podcasts elsewhere so it's more accessible to you, and I'd apologize ahead of time for the delay that this has caused. All right, so let's jump right into crowdfunding. We've had quite a few crowdfunding games come in over the last week. There are a lot of games that I just looked at and I said, you know what, I'm not going to talk about them. I'm sorry. There's some games that have come to crowdfunding. I'm just looking at them like, man, those just don't look good. Of course, a lot of them are not funding. But I'm going to talk about a bunch of others that look really good. And the first one I want to talk about is Arctic Roll. Now, Arctic Roll actually started, I think, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And I actually have a preview copy of the game. But with my sickness last month, everything just got set behind. So I never was able to make a video for it, but I do want to talk about it now. Now, Arctic Roll is a roll and write game that is published by Rolling Rhino Games, and they've published several other roll and write games. And so in this game, you are traversing the ice and trying to gather supplies and score points and everything like that. They have a dedicated solo map. They also have a dual map and other maps. And so it has a really cool dice drafting mechanic, as the dice you choose will help you move on the map and then do various things depending on where you place the die and which die you use. You'll get hunters and holes in the ice based off of it. And so it's actually quite fun. It's very relaxing. But the price on this game is $6. So $6 for one map. Now, they expect to add more maps as they go. I think they're going to add 2 more maps, assuming they reach the stretch goals. And I hope they do, because $6 for one map is kind of high. I think people have already commented on that fact. But if they have 3 maps in there, then I think it'll be worth it. Now, one thing I will note is that they also offer Kaikoro, and Kaikoro is a game that I backed, I want to say like almost 2 years ago, and it's a roll and write game. I've never done any content on it, but it's a fun game about attacking kaijus. And so they have that available as well, and that's another $6, but there's a lot of content with that one. So I definitely think that one's worth it as well. Now, I do want to mention one thing that I really like about the Arctic Roll game is they provide a low ink version, and it's not just low ink, but they eliminate the background blue, and I think it's so much better. So if you get the game, I highly recommend that you print it in color, but in the low ink. It's so much better. It's easier to see everything. The icon's a little bit more contrasted. And yeah, I definitely like that. And the graphic design is just done really well. I appreciate the art. Yeah, everything about that's really good. Like I said, I think it'll be worth it if they include all the stretch goals. And so $6 for Arctic Roll. All right, so moving on to an interesting one. It's called the PNW Card Game Book. And so what it is it's this book of games that you can play using a deck of cards. And they have a solo game. So there's only one game in there that's a solo game. And it says it's a complexity of 3. They have 5 different games, and they all differ in complexity from 1 to 5. So it's on the middle road of complexity. It's called Cabin by the Sea, and build stacks of cards from the sea, the beach, and your supply. Each turn the sea gives and the sea takes in this solitaire game. And so there's not a whole lot of information about it, but it looks really interesting. The only problem with this is the price on this is $29, all right? Now, I mean, you're buying a hardcover book, it looks like, so, and it looks, really well done. I think it's got kind of a foil embossed cover and everything. It looks really nice, but here's the thing. As a solo gamer, I would have really appreciated if they included a PDF copy, and they don't have one. You have to buy the book. And I just don't know that it's worth the price of admission there. I think if they want to get the solo gamers on board, I think they definitely should provide a print and play option. I think that would be much better. But unfortunately, they didn't provide that. And so if you want this game, it's going to be $29. I do think it looks interesting. It looks fun. The art looks good. I just don't know that it's worth it on the solo side of it. But if you find yourself playing 2 players, 4 players, 3 to 6 players, yeah, a bunch of different player counts, then maybe it would be worth it for you. And I guess I'm in the mood to look at game books this week because there's actually a couple more game books that I have on my list here. So the next one up is called Soul Biting. And this one looks really, really cool. All right, it's kind of board game adjacent, I guess. It's a choose your path and shape your destiny game book. It has over 40 illustrated pages of maze and right to play. All right, so you basically follow your way through the maze and you activate certain abilities and go to different places and do different things. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what it does, but apparently there's, you know, adventures and puzzles and mazes and other things to solve. So it looks kind of fun. You can either get the PDF format, which is $10 or $11, or you can get the book, which is about $20. And so that doesn't seem too bad. The price isn't too bad at all. On top of that, Drive-Thru RPG is handling the fulfillment in the US, and so shipping's only $6. So yeah, not too bad at all. And so once again, that one is called Soul Biting. It's a maze game kind of book, maze and right book. All right, I only have one more book. All right, one more game book to talk about. And this one's called Final Quest, solo play fantasy survival game. And it's published by The Grinning Frog, which is owned and run by Stephen Hart. And I guess he's an award-winning RPG writer. I don't know who that is personally. But this is a solo RPG that uses a deck of cards to play. It comes with a 40-page game book. And so you're going to encounter allies, go on side quests, use blood magic, help the needy, or leave them to their fate, and so on. There's a whole bunch of things going on here. And so each of the cards are going to correspond to specific, you know, actions or items. So like the clubs equal equipment, diamonds equal locations, spades equal opponents, and hearts equal people. Now, the cool thing about this is they'll actually sell you the special deck of cards that has all that information. Otherwise, you'll have to look up that information as you draw cards. And so the price on the print bundle with those cards is $39. And I don't think that's too bad. I really don't. For a solo RPG book, I think that's pretty good. Now, you can just buy the book by itself, and that's $26. Of course, you could also get the PDF version, and the PDF version is $13. Sorry, the print book is $20. But if you want the PDF and the print book, it's $26. But yeah, there's a bunch of different tiers you can choose from. I personally would be tempted with the card bundle. I think the cards look good, and I think I would rather have those than use a regular deck of cards. But you can do it that way. It's totally up to you, but yeah, this looks really good. Looks like a great solo RPG book. I'm really liking solo RPGs. You know, I've mentioned them before, like Fox Curio's Floating Bookshop is my favorite by far. And so, yeah, I think this would be a game book that I'd like to get. I'm not going to back it right now, but I definitely want to consider it in the future. All right, so the next up is a game called Mars Expedition Sol 43. It's a logic board game. It says it's a 1 to 2 player logic game where Sol is the Martian day filled with challenges and obstacles that you must overcome no matter what. And so you're captaining or guiding a research drone over the Martian landscape. And there's tornadoes and other things that you have to move around and accomplish goals. Apparently there's like 43 different missions, as well as the ability to customize your own missions. And so it sounds really interesting. I'm not sure on the gameplay. I'd have to look into it a little bit more. You know, whether this is truly a logic game. It's kind of hard to tell offhand, but it looks interesting. I love logic games, I really do. And so this is one I definitely would be interested in. The only problem I think I see in this game is the price. It is the price. It's $49. I don't think you're getting a lot as far as like components and stuff for $49. So I'm kind of concerned about that price, you know, and with the 43 missions, I wonder, you know, about replayability after you've completed all 43 missions. Then again, you know, I've bought Relics of Raja Vihara and I've loved that one, and that one has about the same amount of missions. So Mars Expedition, it looks good. The price is a little high. With shipping, you're looking at an additional $15. So you're looking at almost $70 for a Logic game. I think that's a little high, but definitely interested to see what people think about it when it gets published. If it does, it's not funding yet. It still has another $3,000 to go of its $7,500 goal. So it'll probably fund. We'll see how it goes. All right, so I was really excited to see another Simone Luciani game that coming up on Kickstarter because, you know, we have Darwin's Journey and Grand Austria Hotel and so many other games by him that are just great. Now, unfortunately, this latest one called Etherstone does not have a solo mode. So I won't be talking about it today. It looks beautiful, looks fun, but it doesn't have a solo mode. That's too bad. That's too bad. The price is good too at $33. Oh well, no solo mode there. All right, so we're gonna jump on over to GameFound for a moment and talk about Meeple Inc. So Meeple Inc. is a worker placement style game for 1 to 6 players. I looked at the solo mode in the rulebook and it looks like a solid solo mode. It's card-driven AI. It looks like a more streamlined version, something similar to what you'd find in a Stonemaier game. And so this game is all about designing your own board games and, you know, taking them to publisher and competing to have the best board games. And it looks like a lot of fun. I mean, you even make your own little board game boxes that you house, like you put the mechanics and the rule book and stuff inside of it. It looks really great. And so there's a lot of like novelty here. You know, there's just a lot of really cool things. You actually have a little mini Kallax that you put the board games on. Now, the standard one only comes with like a cardboard version of the Kallax, and honestly, the way they currently show it, I wonder about its structural integrity, whether it will last or whether it will kind of fold over and bend up a little bit. The deluxe version has a wooden one. I'm going to get into the cost and all that in just a minute because I have some issues with all that. But, you know, this game looks fun. It really does. It's got just this great table presence, fun colors. It does look a little busy on the table. Like there's a lot going on the table. So I do worry about being able to glance at the table and understand everything at a quick glance. But, you know, looking at the board game boxes that they use, these little tiny board game boxes, they're definitely, you know, like games, you know, they're satire or whatever, playing homage to popular games. Like they have one called Vikings, and I'm assuming that has to do with Raiders of the North Sea. There's other ones as well that they just look funny and just look great. There's one called The Flu, of course, that goes with Pandemic. There's one called Wild West, and I wonder if that's off of Great Western Trail. There's also one called Beak Size, and I think that's supposed to be like Wingspan. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great things here. Again, I'm not sure about this game. I worry that it's more novelty than game, but I'm willing to be proven wrong, you know? Now, let's talk about the pledge levels, okay? There's 3 different pledge levels. It starts out at $49 for the base game, and then if you want the deluxe edition, you're going to add another $25 to that. But on top of that, they have expansions as well as metal coins and all that. And so if you go in with the all-in, you're looking at about $130. Wow. And so, yeah, I don't know about this. I'm going to advise just avoid the deluxe edition. I really am going to advise it. A lot of it seems unnecessary. And it's already a busy and colorful looking game. I don't think the deluxe components are going to add much to it. You know, I would say just go with the base edition and, you know, save yourself a bit of money. And thankfully the shipping on the base edition is really inexpensive too. It's $9. If you go to the deluxe edition, it's $15 and the all-in's $18. So at $9 in shipping and $49 for the game, seems like a good price. Definitely interested in trying this out someday. I'm not going to back it right now, but I definitely look forward to playing it. All right, so we're jumping back over to Kickstarter. I'm already laughing by the fact that this is here. But guess what? There is a House of a Thousand Corpses board game. Yep, Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. If you don't know what that is, that's a horror movie, a very gory horror movie. But they're making a board game for it. All right, so it's a cooperative game, 1 to 4 players. And so you actually play the killers in the game. The goal is to like kill the victims. All right, so this is a dark game. This is a really dark game. Definitely not for people who are not a fan of horror. But it looks fun. I don't know. I'm gonna be tempted to back this one. This one looks like a lot of fun. And the price seems right too, at about $60 for the game, or $70 if you include the miniatures. And so $70, you know, that's $11 more for the miniatures. That's not too bad. That seems like a good price. And so yeah, it kind of looks like a dungeon crawler almost. It's kind of hard to tell exactly, you know, how the gameplay goes. I didn't watch any gameplay videos, but it kind of looks like a dungeon crawler. You know, in glancing at the rule book, I'm not sure about this game. You know, at first, you know, it looked really fun, but the rule book, I don't know. It has an interesting action chaining mechanic, and I like the idea of it, but the gameplay itself kind of looks a little on the tedious side, maybe? I'm sorry, I have a hard time getting a grasp of the gameplay based off of the rulebook, and it looks really repetitive. It looks like there isn't any scenarios or campaign or anything like that, so it does kind of look a little on the repetitive side. This looks like it probably is more fun to do as a group than it is to do solo. I hope I'm wrong about that, but that's just kind of my assessment just looking at the rulebook right now. But in case you're wanting to get the game, you can also get a coloring book for House of the Thousand Corpses. Like, I didn't know there was a coloring book, and now my life is, you know, incomplete without one. All right, and you know me, I save the best for last, and we move on to Galactic Cruise. Now, I talked about this a lot in my last podcast, but Galactic Cruise, oh man, it hit Kickstarter like a storm. It started on Monday, and it is now at $451,000 of a $50,000 goal. Wow, 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 wow. That is super impressive and well deserved. Now, the price of the game is $90, and so it's going to be a little on the high side, you know, but, you know, if you're a fan of Lacerda type games, you're going to find the pricing appropriate because this is a medium heavy Euro game. It is one that I very much enjoy. There's a lot of really good things going for it. I've loved the gameplay so far. It's still on my table. I have a few more days left with it. I've got to record a playthrough of it, and I'm really looking forward to that, but this is definitely a really good game. Now, do bear in mind, I am receiving a free copy of the base game, so that is coming to me for free from the publisher for checking out their preview. So do keep that in mind when it comes to my opinion of the game, because there is obvious bias that comes with that. But yeah, it's really fun. I really enjoy it. I like a lot of things about it. There's just a lot of really good design decisions. A game that should be super restrictive. They've made a lot of different ways to you know, alleviate the restrictiveness in some of the actions and make it, you know, more accessible. And so yeah, there's just a lot of really good things going for it. Now, they do include or they do have 2 extra expansions that you can buy along with it. If you buy the game and an expansion, it's $104, or if you buy both of them and the game, it's $119. And so the expansions, if you're going to go for that for solo, I would advise just going with the advancements one. I don't think the accommodations one is going to add enough to the solo experience to make it worthwhile. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong on that. I think if you're going to go for any expansion, if you're going to go for that, I'm not necessarily saying that you should, but if you would go for that, I would say the advancements. I think it adds more to the gameplay and variability than the other one does. But yeah, I'm super excited about this. This game is just a lot of fun. I can't wait to play it again on my table. And I'm really excited for TK King and the crew of Kinsen Key Games that they were able to pull this off and do so well. There's just been a huge amount of support for them. And so, yeah, it's been great for them, and I'm really happy for them. They deserve the success. They've worked really hard on this game, and yeah, it's looking really good. All right, and so that's it for my crowdfunding roundup. Now we're going to move on to games that I received recently, and I really haven't received many. All right, so this last week here has been slow, and I really think it's going to be slow because I'm not ordering any games, and I don't have anything on the horizon that I think is coming anytime soon. I think there's a couple games. I think Skyrise is coming soon, maybe one or two other games. But one of the games that I received is called Ataria, or Eteria. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Eteria Elvian Relics. And so this is a game by Moedis. Again, I don't know how to pronounce their name. Moedis Game Design. I'll put a link in my description for this, of course. But I backed this game on Kickstarter, I think last year sometime. And honestly, I don't know anything about it. I backed it kind of blindly, probably because I'm a sucker for the anime theme, and I love the anime. You know, the look of the anime on the cards and stuff. And it's a 1 to 4 player game. It plays in 30 minutes. Looks to be a very light game, but I'm looking forward to playing it. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And the other game that I received is Sonic Roll. Sonic Roll is a game by Kess Entertainment, or Kess Games, and they brought the Sonic video game into board game form, and this game is a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun with this. All right, so it's kind of like a dice rolling game, similar to maybe Elder Sign or One Deck Dungeon. But the goal of the game is to get through 6 zone cards in one of the acts. There's multiple acts. And then at the end of those 6 zone cards, you're going to encounter the boss. And then you've got to fight the boss. And you're going to have to go through different challenges to fight the boss. And if you fight the boss, you win the game. Now, the way the game plays is, on your turn, you choose one of 3 different abilities on your character. There's like 4 different characters to choose from. And so one of those abilities will give you the dice that you're going to roll. And so you're going to roll these dice, and they're going to either give you a bonus or a penalty, depending on the dice that you roll. And then you're going to place those dice on one of the challenges on one of the zone cards. And so you work your way from left to right on each of the zone cards. There's branching paths on the zone cards, and each time you complete a challenge, you'll get a bonus or you'll get a penalty, sometimes summoning badniks and other things that are trying to hurt you. And so yeah, it's this fun little dice rolling, dice placement game. It's not game of the year material, but I've had a lot of fun with it. I've played it 4 times now. It's still on my practice table, and I'll be playing it again a couple more times. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Now, I did receive this as a review copy, so again, take that into consideration with my opinion of the game. But I think they did a really good job with, you know, taking the Sonic video game and making it into a dice rolling game. I think it works out well. There's just a lot of fun things going on. You still collect, you know, the rings like you do in the game, and if you get hurt, you lose all your rings. But yeah, you know, it lets you be invulnerable for a minute. But if you get hurt and you don't have any rings, then you lose a life. And so there's a lot of things that correlate to the video game. There's also bonus stages. You're also trying to find Chaos Emeralds. There's even a campaign. And if you finish the campaign, you'll unlock additional content. Yeah, there's a lot of good things, you know, and for the price, I think the price is, I think it's around like $30, $35 or something like that. There's a lot of content in the game. There's 4 different acts, and each of the acts has their own deck of badniks. And then there's 4 different bosses, 4 different characters, and each of the acts also have a whole set of their own zone cards. I think there's like 16 different zone cards for each act, and you only see 8 of those for each play. So there's just a lot of replayability in the box. There's a lot going for it. It's a good game. I really enjoy it. And that's it for the games I've received. Now I want to talk about a couple of things. We have some pre-orders, or well, one pre-order I want to talk about, and then some upcoming crowdfunding games. And let's start with the pre-order. So Rebuilding Seattle came out, I think last year or late in 2022, I forget. But Rebuilding Seattle was this great, you know, tile placement Euro game. It had the really great action selection and a lot of really great things going for it. I enjoyed it. I don't think it was like a stellar game. You know, if I was to rate it, I'd rate it probably an 8 out of 10, but it's a fun game and I'm glad I have it in my collection. But there is a new one coming out called Rebuilding Chicago. And so you're going to reconstruct the Windy City after the Great Fire of 1871. And so this is due out this month, it looks like. Now, it looks very similar. I guess there's some different things. There's some new features like new event cards and landmarks and tile shapes for buildings and stuff. I just don't know if there's much of a change. It says there's some improvement to the rules in the card market. So, we'll see how that goes. Now, they actually have an insert for this one, so that's good because the last one didn't have an insert. I had to use GMT trays for it, which worked out well. But yeah, there's no insert for the original one. I don't think I'm going to pre-order this one. I don't know that I need both, you know? I just don't know. I'll probably wait and see what people say about it, but we'll see. I'm glad they're making an additional one. You know, it seems like a good system to build off of. I just don't know if I need two of them. And so that was Rebuilding Chicago. And so next up, over on GameFound, we have the next solo game of the month by Gabe Barrett. Now, he recently had one on GameFound called Dyson Crusoe. And this next one now, it starts in like 5 days, is called Quests Over Coffee. Now, I guess this game has been out before. It's a print and play game off of Print and Play Arcade, but this new edition is going to include a new adventure mode, some new cards, updated graphic design. They will offer a print and play version, I think for like $5, and then the physical version for $24. So it seems like a good price. And looks like they're shipping in June. So it looks like real quick. So that sounds really good. It looks fun. I love the art. It literally says the playtime's 7 minutes. That seems surprising, but I guess so. It says you do it all in less time than it takes to finish a cup of coffee. All right. That sounds interesting. I'm down. I'd try it. But yeah, Quest Over Coffee starts in 5 days. I'll probably talk about it in the next podcast as well. And so the last game I want to talk about in this episode is on GameFound, and it starts in 5 days as well. And that is going to be Roth by Chip Theory Games. It's a 1 to 4 player, easy to play area control game. All right, an area control game. Now this has psychedelic colors, think like Dungeon Degenerates colors. So it has dice drafting and faction-driven area control. There's not a whole lot on this page about it, but you know, it is Chip Theory Games and they're very popular. I've only ever backed one game, 20 strong. So I'm definitely interested in looking into this more. Now, if you aren't a subscriber to Mark Dainty's Not Board Gaming YouTube channel, definitely give him a subscribe and then check out his video when he publishes it. He currently has the preview copy of this game, and I would imagine he'll have a video coming up really soon. But definitely check out Not Board Gaming and you know, see his channel and check out that video when he has it so you can decide whether you want to back this game next week. And so that's it for this week's episode. There's a lot of interesting games to look at. Now, if you want to check out any of these games, I'll have them listed in the description of this podcast. And I'm really looking forward to next week and talking to you about the next games that come up on the crowdfunding radar. But also let me know what you're planning on backing. Are you planning on backing Roth, or did you already back Galactic Cruise? Or what other games are you planning on backing? Maybe there's something I missed on this list. But I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One's podcast, and I hope you have a great night.